it says that we are live now. I've given the link to our folks on the Google Hangouts chat. We got to use this.
I don't know, man. If anybody's gonna join, everybody wants to join Alex's fucking shit.
Well, we'll give this a try a tiny bit, because if we're gonna do Wildcard Wednesdays or anything on my channel, we better figure out how this dumb crap works. Now that we're live, it is a little blurry on your end, but not nearly as wasn't as nearly as bad. All right, so yeah, Thomas Meadow 75. This is your Masters of Beer Reviews. We got Ronnie S. that way from Florida, where he's at now, and this is your Massachusetts beer.
So what are you drinking, Eric?
Here's what I'm going to be drinking, and it says I'm live now, so good. It actually goes on to YouTube.
Yeah, you're live, man. You're definitely
good. Boulevard Brewing Company, Kansas City, Missouri. This is a Rye on 6 whiskey barrel aged ale on Templeton rye barrels. A 60-year-old Templeton rye barrels. They put this beer in.
Cool.
Yeah. It is some just indiscernible amount of ABV. I will crack this open, start drinking it, and then find that out. What's going on tonight?
Let's see, Eric. What you know about that? If you can see it.
All right. That is Ice House Original.
Ice House. Yeah.
You know what's cool here? One thing I do like is that when we're on this StreamYard application here, it actually shows up with on that right side of the screen. When we were just in Google Hangouts on air, it would just show up with our comments within ourselves of the chat panel. This is actually showing the live comments from YouTube now, so you don't have to open any separate application to do that. So I like that. That's my favorite feature so far.
Oh, so you're saying you can see the YouTube comments on this
Yep.
Streamlabs?
That's pretty good. I like that.
I don't see them. Actually,
I don't know if there's a way to do that on.
Maybe you got to be the host to be able to see them.
That's what I'm thinking. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing. So we can host up to. How does this work? I read
6, I believe.
6 people at one time.
6.
At 6 people, 10 people in total are able to join up on this.
That's crazy. So does that count the 6 people on panel? So you can only have like 4 people in the chat? Is that what that means?
So we can have 10 people in this thing total. Only 6 can be on.
Right. Okay. So say you got 6 people on the panel.
The other 4, you will not see the other 4 until the moderator starts to add them to the stream. So if we get
what about the chat? What about the chat though? Does it count for the chat as well?
Yeah, I think they'll still be able to see that, and they'll still be able to see what's going on here. So if we get like a large panel, or anybody ever got a large panel, what they would have to do is to swap a couple people in and out just to get them into the conversation. So they'll always be in that conversation, but they got to be swapped in and out to do it, to be inside of it. So kind of crazy there.
Yeah, what about the chat though is my question. So you have a 10-person limit, right?
Yes.
But you can only fit 6 on the panel.
Yep.
So
there is a section here I'm noticing.
Does that mean you can only have like 4 people in the chat?
Let me screen share this quickly. So here we are, right? Oh, crap. Don't mind that. So there's the comments here, and I can see them from YouTube. And then there's one called private chat. So we can do the private chat just within ourselves of the panel that nobody else is going to see on YouTube land. Boom. So that's how that's going to work, I believe, if I follow this logic.
They say this is supposed to work good for interviews.
Yeah, you can definitely set it up for however you want it to look. It's not quite, to my knowledge, just looking at this application, it's not quite so great where like with Google Hangouts. It doesn't go from person to person and then go full screen to them while they're talking.
Exactly. That was one of the exact things I was thinking, man.
So
I don't like that at all.
well, we're just gonna have to either deal with this version of YouTube, or just keep on the lookout for newer things that may be.
Yeah, I mean, this stream. What is it? Stream Lab or Stream
There's a lot of things to look
Yard?
at.
StreamYard.
Yeah, it's a
So
StreamYard.
this is what everybody's jumping to right now.
Well, that's what a lot of people are.
It's like there might be a way better alternative to this come like a week from now.
Yeah, possibly. This is Rye on Rye 6. This is 12.9%.
Oh, nice.
There you go.
Big boy beer.
I don't even know what they're calling this beer. I'm just going to call it an old ale. I don't know.
Well, cheers, Eric. Cheers, man. That's a big ass beer you got there, man.
I don't even know what. This is like strangely drinkable.
Did you get that from the brewery?
Say that again?
Did you get it from the brewery?
I've never been to Kansas City, Missouri. I found this at a local beer store, but I go to a lot in my area. I said, why not? It was, I think I have the receipt here. This was $4.49 for the 12-ounce bottle. I think that's a good deal for what you're getting. And they come in 4-packs, by the way. So that's, the 4-pack divided.
Oh, hold on a minute. I got some pizza. Hold on.
Yeah, he's got some pizza. So everybody that's watching this, the Rye on Rye 6 whiskey barrel aged ale. They say it has spicy rye malt and rye whiskey flavors, and they offer notes of vanilla charred oak with a delightfully boozy sweetness. This actually really isn't all that boozy for it being 12.9% in the mouthfeel. I'm definitely getting the toasty coconut notes, vanilla notes. The bourbon is definitely in the background. Definitely some charred woody notes to it. It definitely smells like you're drinking whiskey, but it doesn't have like that hot intensity heat to it. Definitely overall, it's like a molassesy type sweetness. And the beer is ultra smooth for what it is. It's actually pretty, I was going to say crisp, but it's semi-dry. It's got the bourbon sweetness to it. So let that be what it is on that in perspective. And it's sort of kind of ridiculously refreshing for what it is. This is I don't know, 94 at least out of 100 beer. This is pretty sweet. It's a medium to full-bodied beer. For me, it's like right on the edge of full-bodied, but not quite. Just a lot of toasty charred notes. Toasty caramel, toffee, toasty coconut, vanilla, woodsy notes. Once it finishes, you can definitely get more of the heat from the bourbon.
Sorry about that, man.
And yeah, that's a 94 out of 100 from me on that one. So
got some Hungry Howie's delivered, man.
Hungry Howie's.
Hungry Howie's. You don't have it up there, right?
I do not have Hungry Howie's. I don't see Hungry Howie's in New England.
Yeah, I think it's like a southern thing.
All right. So
telling Johnny we should do a dual review of Hungry Howie's pizza, but he wants to do all these little kid shit, Hot Pockets and all that nonsense.
Real. Wait a minute. Oh my god, I hate this screen. Real style. This screen is lame. You're right. This is a little bit lame, but it works for its application. There's a little bigger screen for you. See, you have to. There are many different ways to sort of zoom out the screen. You can go this way, this way. You can do it that way. It can just be me. I don't know what happens if you talk, Ronnie.
What?
It does not go directly to you afterwards. That's
So it's just you.
That's stupid. If I just want to present somebody, maybe I can do it that way. Solo. I can solo you out.
Yo.
Then I can unclick you. So maybe when somebody goes to talk about their beer, kind of
Right.
like when we can present in the Google Hangouts, I can just press
So you
solo.
actually can present people then.
Yeah, that's so I clicked on a little thing above your icon to the left-hand corner on my screen. It says solo layout. So I click on solo layout and it brings you up on the screen. Then when I click it again, it moves you back to the side like that.
Mm-hmm.
So when the screen gets bigger or when the screen has more panelists on, we would have to use one of these features, kind of like what we're using now, or maybe something like this where we can stack everybody on top of each other.
Or what if we just don't use this Streamlabs?
I mean, we can obviously, and if anybody knows, comment down below. But if anybody has an idea of what other kind of applications
Something
are like
better than this,
that
man.
would be great.
Yeah.
We
Even
gotta,
if you gotta pay, if you gotta pay for it, it might even be worth it.
yeah,
Get some quality stuff out there.
but so far we got to give props to who was it? Was it Jeremy that even found something like this?
I don't
So
think
like
no,
the
it
next
wasn't
best
Jeremy,
thing that
man.
we have
It's
in media,
everybody. Everybody's found this shit.
it's the next best. It's the next best thing we have to what we're doing. But anyways, we are drinking some beer this evening, and one of them is a classic Ice House beer. What do you think of that beer there? A runny.
Oh, classic Ice House?
The not the Edge version, just
No, it's not the Edge. Not the Edge. But it's gonna put me on the edge.
all right.
That's a good beer, man. It's a great ice beer. It's actually the original ice beer. It started the ice beer craze in the 1990s. I think it came out in '93, and after this one came out, they came out with the Bud Ice. They came out with the Keystone Ice. Came out with the Bush Ice, which is hard to find. Number of other ices, and during the mid '90s, there was the ice beer craze, and the companies were just going crazy like that. It was weird, and they put out a lot of commercials. Even during the Super Bowl, I think they put out Super Bowl commercials actually to promote ice beers. Believe it or not,
Yeah, I would imagine.
and we think of it as like a discount beer, but they were putting money into it back then to have a Super Bowl commercial. So they were thinking about they were definitely thinking about getting some money out of it. You know what I mean?
I would imagine they would have done that in that early to mid 90s sort of range. So Miller Coors does say that beer was introduced in 1993. So they're careful in saying it's America's first domestic ice beer because a lot of people claim that I think it was Labatt? I think it was Labatt Ice was technically the first adjunct lager style.
What would that be? Canadian, I guess.
Yes. Labatt Ice introduction. That came out they say it came out in the same year, but it must have come out a month
Earlier in the year. Or are they really gonna go
earlier
like?
in the year, let's say.
Are they
Yeah,
gonna like nitpick it like that, man?
I guess. But I mean, as Jay Terrio, Louisiana Beer Reviews would say, you are drinking an award-winning beer. It won a silver in the 2014 World Beer Cup, bronze in 2012 World Beer Cup, 07 and won a gold in the Great American Beer Festival.
I want to go to one of these beer cups, and like it seems like at these beer cups, they're just like they're not subjective. They're not what do you call it? Judgmental or at all.
They are judgmental, but they're as judgmental as the style the beer gets categorized into.
So if they realize what style it is, they'll judge it according to the style.
Correct.
Whether they like it or not. That's fair.
I think that's really fair. Open and honest. However, However, to each their own, still at the end of the day, what they like and what they don't like. They just have to judge purely based on how it's categorized. Now, who decides? I don't know enough about that, but who decides what beer is eligible for what category is? I wouldn't even know that.
I mean, you'd have an idea though.
Because I had a saison. I had a saison the other day when we were off air. I think it was last Saturday. It could have been Sunday afternoon, maybe. I think maybe it was last Sunday afternoon. And it said Brut Saison on the thing, brewed in Massachusetts. And what I drank tasted very, very sour, almost like a Berliner Weiss. So I don't know if the BJCP would have said Saison my ass. That's a Berliner Weiss, right? Who's to make the ultimate judgment? You're gonna have to go look up.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna bring it to that, Eric, you can just say who's gonna say anything about anything.
Right.
Right.
The common average beer drinker that is not a part of judging for a profession, that kind of shit doesn't really matter to us necessarily.
Well, it matters. It matters to me.
Really arguing over what style it is just pointless to people.
I don't think you should argue, but you should try to get it right. Try to understand what it is.
You got to get it right to a certain extent where you're at least pointing something in the direction of what it may even be.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, talk a little bit about Ice House, if
I just told you kind of what I know about it. Ice House, it's an old beer. It's from '93. Started in '93. It started the ice beer craze, and it's a good beer.
I was gonna say, do you think
I'm just gonna say, out of all the ice beers I've tried, and I've tried a lot of them, Keystone Ice is my go-to ice beer, and I'm sorry to say it's not as easily accessible here in Florida as it was where I was up in New York.
Right.
I don't know why that is.
Interesting, right?
I think it is around, but it's just not. It's not like one of the beers they have, at the local gas station. They don't have, them stacked like that, like they used to have in New York.
I mean,
it kind of sucks because I like Keystone Ice.
I mean, they're gonna stack
what's out?
Natural ice, pretty much, for ice beers.
Oh yeah, you got
and I guess Bud Ice to a certain extent, right?
Yep, you got Bud Ice.
Maybe
then they have the Ice House. They have the They have the Ice House Edge is like being pushed kind of here.
I don't think so.
Ice House Edge is like the new one, man. I think it just came out this year. It's not. I mean, it's strong. It's a strong beer, but it's heavy, dude. It's heavy.
Mm.
It's when you drink it, you're gonna feel it in your gut.
Huh.
It's not like a smooth one like a Keystone or even a Bud Ice is kind of smooth. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, man. Keystone's my favorite, and I haven't really found that it's like readily accessible here as much as I am used to. What's your go-to ice beer, Eric?
Molson Ice.
100%. Molson?
Well, 99% well, I'm nitpicking here. Let's say 95% of the time I'm going to go for Molson Ice. The other 5% would be, in second place for me, would be Bud Ice. I didn't really mind Milwaukee's Best Ice, the one.
That wasn't bad. I tried that one.
I think that's probably comparable to the Ice House. I haven't had an Ice House in so long, I might just need to buy it to refresh my memory.
Is it around over there?
Ice House?
Yeah. I
think I can probably get the size can that you are sipping upon right now.
I don't think I saw Ice House when I was in New York. I wasn't able to find it until I got to the South.
Not really pushed that heavily. So
no, it's not, right? It's not.
The 1993, when they were introducing the Ice House and they're doing all these commercials for Ice House, again, it's a Miller beer done by Miller Coors at this point. They were doing it under this name called like the Plank Road Brewery. The Plank Road Brewery.
I've heard of that.
Under that collection of the Miller beers, as far as I remember. Comment if I missed anything, people. It was the Ice House. There was one called like Southpaw Light. I think it's since been discontinued. And then there was one that's still going on to this day, which is even more obscure in a lot of places, but you can still find it, is Red Dog.
Yeah.
So they all came out under this pseudo.
Have you ever had the Red Dog?
Plank Road Brewery from Miller.
Have you ever had Red Dog?
I have once, and can't really say anything ill will towards Red Dog, but
did you like it?
I did. However, if you're going to complain about a beer like Red Dog because it's so thin and watery and has little flavor, well, I guess you're kind of missing the point of Red Dog.
Well, you know what? If it has a name like Red Dog, you would expect it to have some flavor to it. I would think, at least.
Seems like it would be bolder, right?
Yeah.
But it's along the lines of your name your favorite budget American beer. It's along those lines. It's nothing different. It's not bringing anything different to the show other than here's how Miller might do a really cheap budget beer.
So when did you get to try it? Where were you?
Oh, it had to have been, I don't know, 2 years ago, maybe. I couldn't even tell you. A buddy of mine bought a 6-pack on a whim at a local liquor store in the state of Rhode Island. He paid $3.99 for a 6-pack of 12-ounce cans. That's pretty ridiculously cheap.
I remember John tried it earlier this year when he went to go visit William in North Carolina.
Somebody named Drummer. Oh, hello, fellow drummer. Says, cheers, Ronnie.
Cheers, Ronnie. Oh.
I like drummers.
Well, cheers, drummer. What about cheers, Eric?
Cheers. So speaking of all of this Ice House beer and nonsense and whatnot, what is your rating? How does it taste? And
I gotta rate it. Are we doing all that?
You think it's still worthy of people's time even all these many years later?
Oh yeah, this is a good beer. Definitely a good beer. If you like ice beers, you'll like this beer. It's as simple as that.
Okay.
You know, you can compare it to the Bud Ice, the Keystone Ice, obviously, the Molson Ice, the Old Milwaukee Ice, the Busch Ice, all those. It's all in the category. And I would put this up there in the category. I'd give it an A. An A. There are better ones, but this is one that's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Excellent.
And overall, beer overall, I'll give it a A-.
Trying to get the people involved in our little show, even if we're off air, maybe they would want to try this with us. So I'm putting
I don't know if anybody wants to take part in this. They're just doing like their own things.
Yeah, we might as well wrap it up really soon here and figure out where everybody else is going. But yeah, the Ryan Rye 6 in the 6-year Templeton Rye whiskey barrels. I still want to know Rye on Rye 6. If I go to Beer Advocate, since we were talking about beer styles, right? They're calling it. What did I call it? I called it an old ale. Is that what I said? They literally call it a rye ale, so that's not extremely useful to us. Yeah, and Untapped is calling it a fucking rye beer. So let's go to rate beer one more time. Yeah, okay, that one. Rye wine, barley wine, wheat wine kind of beer. All right. That's kind of what I thought. It's on the barley wine-ish side of flavors. It's got rye malt. It is a little bit spicy. The spice in the rye is kind of masked, but by mask, it's just very, what's the word? It's very round in the flavor.
Is it malt forward?
Flavor. There's nothing about the flavor of this beer that shouts one thing is dominating over the other. And at 12.9%, you could drink this thing without any effort, and you would not recall that this was 12.9%. It is that smooth and delicious. I'm going to stick again. And was a little bit colder or warmer than room temp, or it's a little bit warmer than refrigerator temperature, but it is still on the cool side. This I'm going to stick with is a 94 out of 100. This is a pretty good world-class style beer, and a newbie into
you're saying world class, Eric?
Yeah, a newbie into barrel-aged beers, a newbie into a new person getting into higher percentage alcohol beers could very well find themselves in love with this beer. I'm not falling head over heels in love with this beer, but this is a damn awesome beer. This isn't like wowing me to the point where I can say top 10, top 5, but this is one of the better beers I've had all year. So that must be fucking saying something.
Sounds like you're having a good night over there, Eric.
It's a pretty good beer. It requires.
I'm just drinking an ice beer. No big deal. Sounds like you are really having a good time.
The more you sip on it, the more you can kind of get when it finishes the Templeton Rye, like straight whiskey kind of a finish to the flavor. Like definitely you have to. I say it's good for a newbie into barrel aged beers, but definitely the finish is like full on taking a swig of some whiskey at the very, very end of that finish. So it's a very unique beer. I think if you like barrel-aged beers of any variety, you'll like this beer, even if you've never had one. Yeah, just go get this at your local store and thank your fellow YouTuber Thomas Metal 75 for that shit.
Cheers, Thomas.
What do you say? We should end this one for the day and try to find where everybody else is this evening. Oh, wait a minute.
Well, like you always say.
Hold on. We got Michelle in the building.
What's up?
Michelle, great.
I'm trying this StreamYard for the first time ever.
Hi,
What's up,
Michelle. Hi, Michelle. Are you drinking a beer, Michelle?
What?
Are you drinking a beer? This is a beer review channel.
Are you drinking beer? He asks.
I heard him.
See, me and Eric are in the middle of reviewing beers here.
We're in the middle of almost like trying to figure out where everybody else is and maybe
they're all tired from the Hot Pockets.
Michelle, did you have a Hot Pocket?
No.
You didn't even have a Hot Pocket? Really? Wow.
I'm not wasting my 11 points for my food.
Oh,
for my Weight Watchers.
Oh, man.
I was gonna say,
you're hardcore.
She's dedicated, and that's what matters.
Hey, I lost 25 pounds for the Weight Watchers, so.
She's dedicated. That's what matters, is right. Cheers! We will raise our glasses to Michelle.
So, like you say, Eric, keep tasting those good beers.
That was actually your nails.
No, Ronnie. No. Let me try this for you. Keep tasting those great beers. I don't know if I want to say cheers. We'll see you soon. But we'll end this broadcast.
Well, maybe we'll see you never.
And if people want to
never ever again.
Okay, goodbye, Michelle.
This might be the last Massachusetts beer reviews ever.
Why? What?
In the world.
If we really, truly, absolutely hate this application, StreamYard, this web application thing, we can probably find a comparable thing to this that might work better to our liking. We can collaborate in the community. Please, again, shout us out and on the comments and let us know what your thoughts are for streaming to YouTube and streaming to YouTube with a panel of people.
Maybe Eric. All right, Eric. Here's
the alternatives to that. And
what if we decide to stream not to YouTube, to a different platform besides YouTube? Is that possible at all?
Yeah, 100%. It's possible. Anything's possible in this good old world that we live in. However, that would the only couple of problems with doing that is that requires a whole bunch of us to get a whole bunch new accounts for a whole new video service website. And it's like we got to start up our viewership all over again. So a lot of people that already have like the YouTube accounts and
But
whatnot,
it is possible.
it is possible, 100%. But like, for example,
So even if you just want to have a second channel, start a small channel over there.
yeah. So
you can do it.
Generally, chat to us may not have their own accounts on another website, say like a Twitch or something. So
Twitch, but I think there's other ones too. They're like kind of like the equivalent of what YouTube does.
Yeah. So even our viewers would have to like jump. Even our viewers, if they want to chat.
Oh yeah, everybody has to jump ship. I mean, it's the it's the millennium, man. You gotta do it.
I think what would be easier is to find an alternative like StreamYard to get it back on.
You know what it is, bro? YouTube is taking advantage of the fact that, just like you're saying right now, everybody's just used to being on YouTube, and they don't want to take their accounts and they don't want to go somewhere else. So YouTube is taking advantage of that.
The other thing is that once you go over to a new platform, it's because I'm not that giant. Let's say somebody like Jay Terrio, right? Well, I'm in a nutshell. Say like you're graduating high school, you're a senior on the top of your game, you're like the biggest shit, and then you go to college, then you go to Twitch, and all of a sudden it's like now you're a freshman in college, you're nothing. It's like that just kind of sucks. And I'm gonna bring in Jean H.
No, I disagree, man. I totally disagree with that assessment. Yes.
And that is.
But let's hear what Jean Pierre says.
Jean H. Pierre, say hello.
Good evening, Ronnie. Good evening, Eric. How are y'all doing this evening?
Our back and forth about what we should do about the YouTube conundrum.
Google Hangouts Live is now gone forever. This is our alternative that we've discovered at the moment through Jeremy Vinson called StreamYard.
So I was discussing with Eric, there might be a possibility of going actually off of YouTube and maybe, using something else totally instead of YouTube.
What are your thoughts?
I'll still be using. I'm sure that you guys will still be, if particularly you, Eric, if you'll still be doing, your reviews on certain beers, I'm sure you'll still be uploading them on YouTube. But as far as Hangouts is concerned, doing live videos such as this is going to be a bit of a, I wouldn't say a challenge, conundrum, because some folks, don't know anything about StreamYard.
It is a challenge.
I didn't know anything about StreamYard tonight,
Yeah, because you're forced.
When Jeremy mentioned it,
you're forced to know about
it.
It's bullshit. I didn't know anything about it yesterday.
So far, I can't really complain a whole bunch, because at least at the end of the day, we're still able to do a similar thing. It may look a little different, and it may act a little weird, and the screen layout is kind of completely BS as far as I'm concerned. I wish it was down the line, and then it would like go to you on your screen on full when you start talking. But I gotta click on John to be live on full screen. I gotta click on Ronnie to be full screen. If you all
right, so here's the question. If you have me on full screen, for example, and then John starts speaking, and he wants to talk a lot.
Here's Ronnie on full screen.
Do you have to then change from me to John, or would it like switch over automatically because he's talking a lot more than I'm talking?
Let's try it. Jean, let us know if you're drinking any beer this evening and what that is.
I'm not drinking any beer right now. I'm drinking some water right now. And, it's water. I was, when I saw something popped up on my phone, I said, okay, I know the StreamYard thing. I remember Jeremy mentioned this. I say, okay, what are the guys are doing tonight? So let me take a look and see what this whole thing is about, So
in a nutshell, Ronnie, John H. Pierre started talking.
Yeah,
I put
it
Ronnie
didn't
on
it didn't
full
it didn't
screen,
switch
it did
over. I
not
saw.
go right to John,
Right.
so that doesn't
Right.
work like it does in.
So that answers that question.
Let's add. Let's see here.
Who we got? Is
Guest
Alex
needs
coming in?
we got a guest that wants to join, but he's got to add his microphone and camera before I can add him to the stream. Called
Is it Alex?
Old Frankie. Old Frank.
Also,
Go ahead, John. Yes.
also with the chat, compared to, have y'all responded? How do you respond or see some of the chats people are, comments people are making
All right. So
while we're
the
doing
thing
this
with the
live
chat
video?
we are now on this platform here, the StreamYard, and then when it connects to YouTube, the YouTube has a separate chat. So
Here, watch this. Watch
between
this.
us, between me, you, and Eric, we can have a chat right now inside here. But then there's a separate chat that goes to YouTube.
Watch this, John. So, forgive it looking like a MC Escher artwork piece here. So when I'm connected to YouTube, and it says that I'm live on YouTube, and I confirm that going on YouTube. So there's comments here. These, when I click on the comments at the top, these are actual live YouTubers commenting right here. And then if we wanted to privately chat within ourselves in text, just with the three of us, whoever else joins us, we can click on private chat, and then we can start chatting that way. But as I'm connected to YouTube, it'll show me their YouTube comments, and I don't have to have an extra window open to read YouTube comments. So I'm happy with StreamYard for doing it that way. I don't have to open a separate screen and use extra memory or RAM to have another window open. I like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dig it for gold. Yeah.
So
Wait, can you explain that again,
I'm sure
Eric?
it's gonna take.
Can you explain that again, Eric?
Yeah. Let me screen share one more time here. Screen share. Comments at the very top of the screen show you the comments from the website.
So you're in YouTube right now.
I'm on YouTube.
Right.
And these are YouTuber comments, or people that have the Google account that are on YouTube.
So what about people who are just logging in through the
just on our chat physically with
the website that we're in right now?
Go to this one at the bottom called private chat, and then it's just us chatting with amongst ourselves on text only.
Okay, so you can get that from the YouTube app as well as the regular app?
No. If you type into this private chat, even though you just saw it live on screen, YouTube land, this private chat is only going to air through us that are on StreamYard. It will not show up for people watching on YouTube.
Right. All right.
That's how that works. So they thought about that a little bit. So it doesn't matter if you're on Facebook or if you're on Twitch Live or whatever it is, it'll function the same. The top comments will be the comments from that website that you're streaming to. Then the private chat will always be just for StreamYard applicants or StreamYard panelists.
Aplicaciones.
Sure. So that's how that works. I've kind of figured that out a little bit. I personally don't need, at the moment, they may restrict you a lot with what you can do on StreamYard. Right now, they're not. So at the immediate moment in time, the only thing that's annoying is it'll say powered by StreamYard and have their little logo on the.
Yeah. So what?
I can't really complain overall.
I mean, if they're going to put that there,
it's all about trying to play with it and kind of get a better understanding of it.
Right.
Old Frankie is Gary Owens. Hello, sir.
Hello.
We
are.
Frank,
how are you?
We're trying to experience life after Google Hangouts on air,
and we're not liking it.
Ronnie asks, Jeremy Benson discovered StreamYard, so here we are.
I mean, it's better than nothing.
Yes. Your microphone's a little on the low side, but we can still hear you.
don't know. Is it this one or this one?
It might be your headset microphone. Maybe.
It's because got my gaming
Oh.
headset. Let me see.
But we can.
Is that better?
Yeah.
I hear you fine,
Alright,
man.
it's better.
Don't worry about it.
I'll
That
just
was a
put
little
it
better,
in,
yeah.
I
The
guess.
closer it is to your mouth.
Well, I mean, I got a new job. I'm at a computer most of the day, and I'm talking on something like this, so I have to kind of lower my voice because those mics are much more sensitive than this one.
And if we need to, I think, yeah, if we need to mute people, I can, and I'm going to unmute John. We can certainly
Why did you mute John to
mute
begin with?
people if we need to.
Why
That-
why was John muted?
I am purely testing, and somehow I chose
Hello.
John.
Can y'all hear me pretty good?
No, I hear you, man.
But we can mute whoever we need to in this application in case on somebody's end of the screen nobody is too bad yet. That's good. But in case something gets crazy with audio, we can quickly mute somebody so it doesn't sound like complete
Well,
crap.
you can, right? I don't know if other people can mute
No, on Google Hangouts on Air, we used to be able to mute people, whoever we wanted, anybody on the panel.
I don't know if I can mute anybody.
Probably not, I bet. But let's go to Gary in Indiana. No, in Tennessee. Are you having any alcoholic beverages this evening?
No, not tonight, but I did have some a few nights ago.
What was the last alcoholic beverage or beer you drank?
Last beer I had, Natty Ice.
Ronnie asked was drinking Ice House. How does Natty Ice compare to Ice House in your recollection?
Am mine or his?
How does natural ice yours compare to Ice House
Well,
in your humble opinion?
Well, Natty Ice is one of the beers I tried when I first started experimenting with what all was out there. Now that I was 21 and could buy my own beer at that time. So, Ice House was the first beer that I could buy legally when I turned 21. So my 21st birthday, I went out and I bought it was just one tall can for I think it was like $1 and some change, and I loved it. Overall, I think Natty Ice is better than Ice House. Ice House has this. It has like this weird, funky taste to it that I don't like, but they fixed it with the 6.9% Ice House, and I loved it for that. But now you can't get Ice House 6.9% anymore, which makes me very sad.
Yeah, some of these companies were experimenting with 6.9% beers because it seemed like the marketplace or the consumers were demanding a higher percentage.
I want beer.
Right.
I want beer.
I was going to ask Jean for his opinions because he's a classic beer drinking man. But what are your thoughts on a natural or Netty Ice versus your Ice House beer that you drank today or are continuing to drink? Ronnie asked.
I would have to say Natural Ice. Very, very good beer. I would actually say I like Natural Ice more than the Ice House.
But
Heard it first, folks.
Natural Ice is a world class beer in my opinion.
World class in its style.
Yes.
I mean, Natty Ice is good. Is it world class in its style? That's up for debate. If I had to give one that'd be world class in the style, it'd be Bush Ice.
Ooh.
The one that
Bush Ice is very good. It's very good. It's very, very, very good. I've had it a number of times, but I don't know if I'm gonna find it again. Because I had it in North Carolina when I was there.
We get it here in Tennessee in some parts, but all over Southwest Virginia, where I'm from, it's everywhere.
Southwest Virginia.
Yeah, so from like the city of Bristol to the city of Roanoke, that whole area of Southwest Virginia, it's everywhere.
Bristol.
It's a weird beer where it's just like I don't know if it's like strategically placed geographically, in certain areas.
Apparently, they're expanding it into more markets because I think it was Ron? He saw it in Texas and he had never saw it in Texas before, and he lives in Louisiana, so I mean it's expanding because whenever they reformulated Bush, and they say that they did not reformulate it, they did because this latest Bush Ice that I tried a little while back, it's different. It's not the same one that I remember.
Hmm.
Because when I first tried Bush Ice, it had some wateriness to it. Yeah, it had a nice body to it, and it was well rounded. But now, there's no wateriness to it. The body is much thicker and much heavier.
So the first time I tried Bush Ice was about a month ago. It was the first time I ever had the luxury of having Bush Ice. That was when I was in North Carolina. I haven't seen it since then. Now I'm down in Florida. I was traveling. What happened was I was traveling from New York to Florida by
Right.
car, and then I stopped in North Carolina, and I tried a bunch of ice beers. It had a lot there that I had never had before,
Oh yeah.
and Bush Ice was one of them, and I liked it. I liked it. I liked it a lot actually. It was a very good ice beer.
Oh yeah.
But I can say Bush regular Bush beer. I tried it and it just totally sucked. I didn't like it. It was just like water.
It was designed that way.
Yeah, truth.
I mean it's bad. I think it was worse than like Coors Light. You know, it was pathetic, man.
Well,
In my estimation of it.
Well, I remember when I was in high school, because when they reformulated it down to 4.3, that's when it really started tasting like water. But I remember in high school, it was 4.6, and it had a little bit of a heavier body, but I mean, it was still pretty watery, but it wasn't just all water like it is now. So I think
Yeah,
if
it's
they,
like I don't know how like people can buy like an 18 pack of Bush and just drink it. I don't get that,
Money.
man. I totally
Money
don't
alone.
get that.
Price point alone.
if they bring back the 4.6%, the classic Bush, I think you'd like it a lot better. Because now it's like, if you've had Bush and Bush Light, if you did a taste comparison with there being so little differences, like the calorie difference is only 19
Well,
calories.
I would never drink Bush Light because once I tried Bush, you know, just regular, and it's so pathetic. I would never, you know, go to Bush Light. It's
It's
got to
the
be even
same.
worse.
It's the same beer, just presented two different ways. Bush is more of a watery but yet smooth drinking beer. Bush Light tastes like 99% identical. The only thing that really sets it apart is it's more like mineral watery taste, and it has a little bit more prickly carbonation. On that, it's the same beer. Like if you did a taste comparison, you wouldn't be able to tell it apart. Let's see, we got Michelob Light and Genesee Light.
Which one should I crack open first?
Michelob Light.
Michelob Light. I have yet to. It's on my SD card on my camera. I gotta put that on the computer and do a little bit of editing and get that thing out there to the public
Yeah,
for
go
a
ahead
beer
and crack
review.
a
This
Michelob.
was stupid. This was $15.49 for a 12 pack of these.
Well, it's an all malt
No,
beer.
really, man.
Yeah. So in general, oh,
Come
there's
on, Aaron. You can do better than that.
absolutely. Genesee Light is $14.99 for a 30 rack. So yes, technically you're right, Gary, that most of the Genesee, most of the Michelob line of beers are all malt. I guess they're trying to go for light beer. So on the Anheuser-Busch website, the tapinyourbeer.com, they do list this one to have corn in it.
They say that one has corn?
Yeah, just the light beer. So maybe the light and the ultra do, but the original Michelob does not have any adjunct in it. That's what I thought when buying this beer too, is that it wasn't any adjunct.
Well, I know Michelob is definitely a step up. Like, if you compare that to Bud Light, it is better. It also has more flavor, more body. I mean, for a light beer,
Yep.
it is pretty tasty for a light beer.
It's a Hallertau and Strissel Spalt hops and other hop varieties. Why can't you tell me? I don't know.
Let's see, you said Strusselspalt and what else?
All they list is, besides and other hop varieties, a Hallertau and
Porto.
Stritzelspalt, which are, I believe, they're German varieties of hops.
Which makes sense.
Here's what they say is the crown. It lags a little bit on screen when you're looking at it, so Google Hangouts does a much better job having zero lag. Here's what the beer looks like.
Okay.
I'm going to do my condensed version because I do want to post my review, but you're going to find out if I like it or not today. It is, I don't know, I guess it's a shade darker than most light beers, but it is around the same golden color with
Eric, what's the SRM on that beer?
7. The SRM is on this Michelob fucking website.
Honestly, I've never seen a light beer that dark. So I wonder if it being
That's a good
that
point.
dark, if it's just slightly roasted malt, maybe just slightly toasted malt.
I'm gonna go on this website just to confirm our knowledge while we're
What beer is that again, Eric?
Michelob Light. Michelob Light is 110 calories and 8.
So it's not the ultralight.
No, they say on the back of the bottle it's 122 and 8.9 grams.
That one is hard to find, right? The Michelob Light, not the ultralight.
They say 123 calories, 8.8 carbs on the website per 12 ounces. It is a little bit harder to find than Michelob Ultra. Michelob Ultra is in about every store in America.
It's all over the place.
This is, I said like 7 for SRM, but they're not really, I forget, they're not really listing that number. Anyways, they're saying it's a European style light lager.
Can you find that where you're at? I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
Gary Owens, for real.
We can get Michelob Light. We can only get it in 12 packs. Just about every
12 pack?
Yeah, I agree
12
with that.
pack bottles?
Yeah, you can get 12-pack bottles. You can get regular Michelob, Michelob Light, and Michelob Amberbach.
Amberbach.
Michelob Ultra.
I feel like the Amberbach is probably more popular down south and probably in
The Amberbach is actually definitely popular here.
Yeah, we definitely
because I saw it in a gas station. I bought a 6-pack in the local gas station last week.
Wow.
And I had never seen the Amberbach like readily available like that ever before. You know, when I lived in New York.
Right. We also get the Yingling Black and Tan as well.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember the Black and Tan as well. It's very interesting, man. The disparity of, New York to Florida, what beers are available. The regular beers I'm just talking about, not even craft beers.
Gary is right in the middle of all of that. We're a little bit south of the middle of all of that, but.
Well, I mean, we still get a pretty good selection here in Northeast Tennessee.
Shit. Yeah, you smell the Michelob Light, and Anheuser-Busch is like screaming out the damn bottle. You're like getting that same cooked vegetal flavor or note coming out of the beer. Very unmistakable. That yeast from Anheuser-Busch, and maybe some sweet bready malt. Very sweet corn adjunct. This is definitely not an all malt version of a lager. The Michelob Original, however, is. I might have to try that again sometime soon. But big old corn sweetness, big old cooked vegetal notes to this beer. Otherwise, light hints of those hop spice notes. Thin to medium on the thin side of the mouthfeel. Crisp, clean-ish clean, because I'm still getting the adjunct notes. And ultra refreshing. It does have some more weight to it by design. It is a little bit more weighty than most adjunct lagers. I won't try to give away my full rating until I post my YouTube video of the Michelob Light. But I'm around, it's above average, but not much more than that. because of its cooked vegetal, corn sweetness, and it's overriding most of the flavor here. And a good lager beer or a good beer in general shouldn't, if they're going to use like adjuncts and shit like that, that shouldn't be present in the beer, even if they're using it.
Yeah, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be.
But if you like Anheuser-Busch and you really like their takes on American adjunct lagers and American beers, style beers, this is the one to try at some point. So slightly above average, but no more than that. So there's my thoughts.
B minus, 80, 81.
I don't really want to give away my rating, but I will just because you're curious. So I will post the videos still, probably tomorrow if I get my ass to doing
Can
it.
we get a hint, Eric?
78 out of
At
100
least?
is what I gave it on the review,
Oh, yes.
and I'm gonna still stick with that today.
78, that would be more like a C, like higher.
That's like a C minus.
Yeah, no, it's a C plus for me. So for me, definitely, like I said, it's a slightly above average beer, but not much more than that. It's your standard run of the mill Anheuser-Busch.
Yeah, but Eric, if you're saying it's an above average beer,
It's slightly above
it should be above like a B. It should
No,
be in the C
not
range.
for me, the adjunct of that corn and that sweet cooked vegetal flavor is just keeping it up below and anywhere in the 80s for my liking. But that's again, what I love about beer reviewing is it's so subjective, and over the course of watching a certain beer reviewer, you will definitely pick out. Let me let Thrash Metal in. You're definitely gonna pick out all of the flavor profiles and the styles of beers that.
What's up, Thrash?
What's up, Ronnie?
Thanks. Hello.
So, Eric?
Welcome to the
trying this
Steam
thing
laboratory, man.
I like it, but I don't at the same time.
Because
Shit is
I
whack.
was gonna say,
This shit is whack.
But
Let's
look,
just call it.
look at this.
Let's say what it is, man. Let's
But
be
look at
honest
this.
about
We're
it.
doing this though. When Google Hangouts on Air is gone, we're still doing something
But
on air.
let's all acknowledge that Google Hangouts was way better. It was way better. Let's just say it. It's because it's true.
We got a live IT guy in the building, in the house. What's your thoughts on all this Google on Air being dismissed, goodbye, gone?
So first, I haven't had a chance to really look into it. Did they take it away today?
No,
Did they?
Took it away.
Okay.
They took it away yesterday. They took it away
Yesterday. Okay. So the only thing that I've seen is this StreamYard. That's the only thing I've played with. So I don't know. This might open up some things for some third party people.
I mean, obviously, Thrash, but I'm saying what we have right now is just it isn't the thing that we're used to.
Well, I remember it used to be I didn't use Google Hangouts exclusively. I used it through YouTube. So that's not going to change unless something drastic changes on YouTube, because I found out that in this, you can actually start your streams through YouTube.
Yep.
And use StreamYard.
That's how we did this one live on YouTube right now. Yep.
Right. So I don't think it's going to change a thing from the standpoint of losing our groups. The people that we hang out with.
Well, okay, no.
Clips.
The Google Hangouts groups are still going to be there. There's just no way you can connect that to YouTube anymore.
To go live through to YouTube.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, you can hang out with your friends and shit on Google if you want to, but don't come bother us.
I'm suspecting there are things that are already out there that we don't know about that do exactly what StreamYard does, but they may do it in a package that collectively we might like a little better.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Or
So
somebody's going to come
Jeremy
out with
didn't
something,
find
man.
it.
I mean, it's
So far,
going to
Jeremy
happen.
didn't find a shitty program. This isn't all bad. There's some good things I like about this.
It's not all bad. It's not all bad, but it's not what it was.
I know
That's
two things are going to happen here. One is you're in transition. Okay, humans hate change.
Oh yeah.
Number two, with the transition happening, I don't think that everyone's explored all the possibilities out there on what can be used. We might find something that we used in our group that might just be platinum for us. You know what I mean? That may be better,
Right.
but we don't know. We're not there yet.
Right.
Or it
right.
might turn to shit, and we'll just make brownies and drink milk all night.
Which probably won't happen.
Woo.
Right?
Yeah.
Gotta be positive.
Yeah. You're right. You're right, man.
But it's still cool at the end of the day that there's even any amount of platforms and applications out there where we can at least mimic the feel of what it was, right? That's still
You know
good.
what I think is gonna suck if they're like, you gotta pay for this to be the way it was before. That it's like I'm not against the free market or anything like that, and I totally understand profits and losses. But it kind of sucks, man, if that's what they're gonna do. If it comes down to
Look
that.
too, Ronnie. You
Because-
always have that guy out there. You have that company out there that's going to undermine the other ones, because if people start making you pay for stuff, someone's
That's
going to
true,
come out
yeah,
with software that's free.
Yes, yeah.
Well,
Right.
here we
Right.
go. Here we go with that. So we're on. Excuse me. This is a carbonated beer. That's gonna be like, holy fuck. That's the one I reviewed last weekend. Still, it's not on YouTube yet. I'm going to do it tomorrow. So we're on, back to Ronnie S. point. So we're on StreamYard beta.
Mhm.
Hello, Mr. Owens.
This is my stepson.
So we're on StreamYard beta. Beta meaning it's partially it's still in testing in certain aspects.
Right.
There are different tiers of StreamYard you can buy into for a monthly service. Right now, they've restricted nothing on the free version of StreamYard. However, they already acknowledge it when you look into the pricing that very well can and probably will change what they're going to restrict from you.
I think they're waiting to see what YouTube and Google are going to do.
Yeah. So there's probably got to be way other different
Well,
applications to use.
Google owns YouTube, right?
Mhm.
So it's the same thing.
Yeah, right.
So,
I don't think they know what they're doing. I think they know what they're doing, but they're not making
But
it public.
they know what they're doing. They know what their vision is, but they don't know what their exact total plan right now, at this moment, is. Right?
Well, they probably do from an executive standpoint, from where things are going to change. They're probably in the midst of that change right now. It's just until they get like beta testing, alpha testing out of the way.
How could you, if you have a real plan, how could you make a change like this and then not have like an alternative for the people
Immediately.
They don't care,
who are
man.
using it? No,
Well-
the people who are using it, who might have said, okay, like if you have something that we have to pay for, we'll pay for it. But they didn't even give you that option.
No, you know what? I agree with you initially, Ronnie. I agree with Thrash Metal. You both are correct here. So they do have an alternative immediately. And the alternative is this dumb thing that it's not.
But this isn't theirs. This is a different thing.
For YouTubers.
They are not getting paid
right?
from the stream thing.
Right. For YouTubers, it's kind of dumb. And people that do what we do, because they have a thing that's used in the business community, in the business world called what's it called? G Suite or whatever. You got to pay an exorbitant amount of money to kind of do a 30 plus people kind of a conferencing thing like you would in a business world. And you got to pay like $30 a month or whatever it is. That's like what they have that we can all just transition to if we want to pay like $30 a fucking month, or we can just continue to use StreamYard until that thing goes rogue and find another one. So I'm like good with finding rogue enterprises until they go bust.
Yeah. Another thing too, with the way that this is occurring right now with us going like to StreamYard, the beta, there's no restrictions on businesses using it, so they're losing out on money from that standpoint.
They are.
So it's kind of like software that goes out to like students or not publicly owned but privately owned to use for free. Otherwise, if you're a business and you're using it publicly, you should be paying for it. That's the free use type thing that's always been out there since
Sure.
the 90s.
I agree with that. Yeah.
But you just got to look, Ronnie. If let's say that we continue with this and we get used to it and everything, and then all of a sudden they make a big change on here and they want to charge people, you're going to see another company come up underneath that's going to say, "We'll do it for free," and you're going to see everybody drift away from this to that.
You know, the only thing, Thrash, that kind of concerns me with this is that Google and I think YouTube itself, they have contacts with the government. That you know, it's not a totally free market thing.
We're capital.
The government is involved in
This has nothing to do with the government.
Google.
This is all free. The internet
Well, no,
is not the
it does.
government.
No, it does because they have been shutting down YouTube accounts.
They have an enormous
and things like that.
in the IT
It's against the law.
Is that right? Yeah.
You have rights as an American.
I mean, you do, but you really don't. You know, unless you try to really enforce them, you really don't have those rights because you're not going to get them unless you really fight for them.
That is true. Yeah, I kind of agree with that too.
That's like saying that you know, you have the Second Amendment right, but you can't own a gun.
Exactly.
What?
Yeah. I mean, you're guilty and proven innocent, man, in many states.
Yeah, that's the problem with this country. Everything's going backwards.
Wait a minute. Oh, isn't it the other one?
I mean, you can't own a gun, basically, in the eyes of the law, bro. But
you should.
Many states said you can, but if you have one, you better really prove it.
Yeah, that's why you got the state of. Oh, this is a beer review channel, but I do like politics to a certain extent.
But don't go too deep because we don't want people getting mad.
I love political science because I have a bachelor's degree except for one. But even there's a town in Rhode Island called Tiverton that becomes a sanctuary city for gun rights. Why? Because they feel like the government's going to just start taking away more than they should. So therefore, you know what? We're going to protect you from the government saying basically take away, basically your rights more so than actually what's in our Constitution. That is right. If we have
the basis of any government is to say that we are going to protect you from yourself. So it's saying that you don't have as much liberty to do what you think that you are able to do.
But local.
So by putting trust into these people, we are inherently taking away our own liberties.
Localized governments are just 10 times out of 10 real, unless you're going to go and break laws and then go across state fucking lines for some reason. Right. Local government, just about 99.99999% of your time is what really governs you. I mean, yes, we're a part of a United States.
Oh no, 50 states. That isn't totally true. That's not totally true.
Or more or less,
it's somewhat true what you're saying. But it's not 999.9%. It's way less than that.
I don't know.
So no one's going to come take your guns because I mean that if you know your history, that's the whole reason why Japan did not invade America back in World War II, is because one of the admirals, I think the Japanese admirals said that if they were to step on American soil, there would be a weapon behind every blade of grass waiting for us.
Pretty much.
Thresh, I think the reason why the Japanese didn't invade America is because they got 2 atom bombs dropped on there.
That was after. That was. This is before. I'm talking before we got involved in the Pacific side. This is while we were in Europe.
There at the same exact time that we were. I don't have the exact time frame here, but pretty much at the exact same time we were developing that shit. Germany at the exact same time was trying to figure that out.
Yeah, of course they were. Of course they were, but back to what Thrash was saying, I don't think that Japan at any one time was ever a threat to the United States.
Gary Owens, chime in with your thoughts. I know you like politics a little bit.
I've just been listening right now. I'm just being more of a listener today than a speaker.
You're just listening.
Your hat says a lot.
That's cool. Yeah. You can listen now.
So I've been hearing this debate a lot, and be honest, there is one battle of World War II that no one wants to talk about. There was a forgotten battle where the Soviet Union and Japan battled, but only for a little bit. Because there was one battle
The
that people
Russo-Japanese
don't
War.
want to talk about. It was just after the atom bombs were dropped in 1945. So, while although 2 atom bombs were dropped, Japan was not 100% ready to give up yet. So, what happened was, after the Soviet Union defeated the Nazis on the Eastern Front, they had to now. Well, no, I take it back. Once they defeated the Nazis in the West, they now had to turn to the East because Japan was going to be a rising threat, even though America had got them cornered back onto their homeland and they really had nowhere else to go. But they were going to fight to the very last person. So
That's the way Japan ran, anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
this battle, I forget exactly what it's called, but it was very short. It was not all that long lived. Like it lasted maybe a couple days, if that. And basically, it was Japan's last hoorah, and they got their ass handed to them. So Japan
Yeah.
ultimately surrendered. So
Everybody died. They fell
America
on their
cannot take
swords, and that was that.
so America cannot take all the credit for defeating Imperial
Yeah.
Japan. The Soviets had a hand to play in that as well.
Oh yeah, and that came on. Yeah, especially when it came to the Nazis. If it wasn't for the Russians, I don't think America had a hard time getting into the war because
Yo, Brian, can I ask a question?
we sucked.
Hmm.
Where did the phrase the hoorah ever come from? What does that even mean?
Hoorah! I think it's from the Marine side actually.
No, I think that's a Marines thing, but I was just
It's
Red
wondering
Army
if
had
you
something
knew what it
similar
meant.
as well.
hoorah! It's an agreement. It's a motivating noise.
Hmm.
It's just like a yelling. Like,
Yeah. Yep.
but why do they use that though? Why do they use it in like
Tradition.
instead of the army or instead of the navy?
Well, we used hoorah in the army. I mean, we used to do hoorah. You know.
And also overheard you all talking about how Nazi Germany was developing an atom bomb. Well, in some
Yes.
alternate timeline and parallel universe, it did happen. Henceforth, Wolfenstein games.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. And then and then the Germans supposedly had figured out time travel back in the 40s, right?
I honestly
Yeah.
would not be
Well,
surprised.
actually, if you ask Alex, he thinks that Adolf Hitler had a time machine that he came from the future.
No,
Really?
Yeah,
Adolf Hitler
yeah,
escaped.
that's what
He escaped,
Alex thinks
and his body
happened.
exploded.
I'm not discrediting that, but that just sounds fucking crazy. let me be all
I
around.
mean, okay,
I'm not discrediting that.
think about it though. What if Adolf Hitler was supposed to be from this generation right now, and then he actually had a time machine and he went from this generation back to the 40s or actually the 30s,
It-
and he
He's
went
actually a woman. He had a sex change.
oh god. If he was
he's a transgender.
He's a transgender time traveler. Hold on, my
Okay,
grandkids are calling me. Hold
alright,
on.
if we're gonna be conspiracy theorists, let's at least
What?
kind of keep it in the realm of possibility. Let's not get too far out there. I mean, this isn't the Twilight Zone.
if he was to be a part of this generation, he would have been on his phone in that bunker on Facebook Live, taking that
Yeah, okay. I mean, part
live.
of this generation, but not not part of the generation. So
Xperia, Jesse Lee.
kind of like an introvert, like a kind of, I don't know, like a nerd or whatever.
That's exactly what he was, though, right? He didn't get his. He didn't get.
He was a struggling artist.
So that's why he like hates certain people that he does.
Right.
Don't quote me on facts here, motherfuckers. But that's sort of the general gist of like anger at the earliest point of his life.
Right. Well, if we're gonna be a conspiracy theory community right now, let's at least keep it, rational. Because here's one that is definitely believable and has a little bit of evidence to back it up. The body that they found of Hitler, or that they supposedly found of Hitler, was not the real Hitler. Hitler escaped Nazi Germany in 1945, and he died in Argentina in 1964.
1960.
So who was the one who died? in 1964. Who was that guy?
All right, so the way that the Nazi plan was, they had a Hitler doppelganger if there was ever a time where Hitler became assassinated. So they found a person who was 99.999% identical to Hitler. However, there were just a few distinct differences. So if someone were to just look at his doppelganger, he would have his haircut, he'd have his mustache, he'd have his voice, his overall body shape. So kind of short built, slender, vegetarian, knew a lot of details about him. However, there was only one difference between Hitler and his doppelganger. Before Hitler escaped Nazi Germany, he had Parkinson's disease. Did anyone know that?
And he was a drug addict too, right?
Yes, but do you know why he got Parkinson's?
Mm-mm.
All right. So there was this legal form of meth that was around in Nazi Germany. It was called
Oh,
Pervanten, something
Right.
along.
So that's why I said he was a drug addict, right?
But he also took other various drugs. So whenever you would see him taking speeches and getting up on the pedestal and being so worked up, that's because he was on their version of meth. So in order to come down, he would have to mix it with their version of heroin. That was
Jesus.
just the beginning. That was just
Well, that
the
makes
beginning
sense.
of his
That
work.
makes sense. They say the Nazi Party was actually very, very influenced by drugs. Drugs were a big part of like everything that they
Well,
did.
back then, like in America, the opioid, they had opiates that they were smoking and everything else back then.
All right,
So
hold on. Get back to it. So Hitler
But they
had
had their own doctors who were like injecting them with this
exactly.
stuff, so like
yeah.
and get them amped up to have good speeches and stuff like that. So
So
there's probably a lot of meth
right. So
kind
to
of
get
stuff.
right back to it, to not really bore you any further. So Hitler's Parkinson's was getting worse. It really started taking a forefront in 1943 as well as 1944, right when a lot of the Red Army was breaking through a lot of his offensive as well as defensive lines that he had built in the Eastern
hmm
Front.
hmm
So that just made it 10 times worse. So in 1945, about 1 month before the Red Army was about ready to encircle Berlin, they had the plan to go ahead and get his doppelganger out and escape him from the country. So they were able to get him out 10 days before the Red Army got to Berlin. So Hitler got out just 10 days before the Red Army took Berlin. Where he landed was in Argentina. There was that contingency plan if Berlin
But
ever
there was a lot of Nazis who went to
Argentina.
Argentina. That's a real thing.
That's fact right there, 100%.
Yeah, they did do that.
They just
But
didn't get away
okay,
with
so
it.
if Hitler was part of that, what did his doppelganger have to gain from
Nothing.
himself being like basically dying in the place? Why would he do that? Why would he
Dying
do
from the
that?
Got paid well to do it.
fatherland, that's pretty much it.
I don't know if
I mean, it's
I
Patrick
mean that's
Swayze.
a
They
stretch.
say
It's a
that in every
stretch,
country.
man. Thrash, what do you think?
I don't know, because you hear so many stories on, just you just hear a lot of different things through different documentaries. Um, people pulling a lot of stuff out of hats, and you'll never know, really. You'll never know.
So the official
So
thing is that he died with his girlfriend, right? And
So
they killed
Aver Braun,
themselves. Is that like that's the
did.
official?
yeah, that's the
Um,
officials. They had him torched after he killed his family and then took his own life. That's the narrative. And then whoever was left over, they tried to burn their bodies.
Right.
So
who
Damn.
tried? Who tried?
the people that were left behind, so that no, they couldn't take them through the streets.
The Germans tried that before the Americans got there. You're saying?
Yeah. Yep.
Actually, the Soviets found out before the Americans did.
Yeah. Yeah. The
Right.
Soviets were the ones that actually went in. Per some documentaries that I've seen, they're the ones that went in and found, you know, the underground, the bunker, everything that he was in.
Oh,
So
really?
the body
Yeah.
they did find of Ava Braun, that really was Ava Braun. They could not find a doppelganger for her. So
Yeah.
that was her actual body. So when he got to Argentina in 19.
Yeah, but it's like in Argentina, you always hear about like these old crotchety Nazis,
Yeah,
because for
but-
some reason they went to Argentina. That's definitely a true thing.
Yeah, I'm getting
But
ready to
you
get
never hear about, Hitler himself being around.
right. I'm getting ready to get to that because this is where it gets very interesting. So he escaped Argentina in 1945, and then in 1946, that's when there was the Nuremberg trials, where they prosecuted a lot of Nazi Party officials. But did you
Mhm.
notice they only prosecuted higher-ranking Nazi Party officials, and the lower-ranking ones they gave blanket immunity
Right.
if they testified against them? Henceforth,
Right.
why there are
Yeah. I
no
mean,
positions in West
whatever
Germany.
they were testifying for, it doesn't even matter because it was supposed to be a United Nations thing that they were prosecuting all these Nazis under the Nuremberg protocols or whatever, or the rules. But the fact of the matter is, on a side note, is that every single American president ever since that time is culpable, is guilty of the Nuremberg trials. Every single one of them, every single president, is guilty of the same crimes that they were charging the Nazis in the Nuremberg trials.
All right. And then after the Nuremberg trials, when were they done? About like 1947, 48, somewhere in that area?
Yeah.
All right. So the first reports of seeing Hitler in Argentina didn't start until the 1950s. But here's what is the most ironic part. Why didn't they even bother to really thoroughly investigate or even go after his well, they thought it was Hitler's doppelganger trying to go ahead and reinstall the Nazi Empire after X amount of time, sometime in the 1950s or 1960s. So, if the Nazis were so much of a credible threat afterwards, then why didn't they just bother to go after him? I mean, it wouldn't have hurt to just gone after him. If it wasn't Hitler, so what?
You don't know if they didn't. I mean, I was in intelligence for 8 years of my 10-year stint in the military, and there's a lot of things that the Americans don't know about what happened. In anything that happens to do around the world, you're only hearing what's coming from the news or this much from an intelligence source, and the rest it's like an iceberg.
So Brian, that's a great example of the fucking BS of the system, because you shouldn't be getting a little tiny midget of shit that the news is telling you. That shouldn't be what you know.
Right. Well,
You shouldn't know any of it.
disagree that they did not.
No, you should know all of it.
No, you shouldn't. Absolutely not. Should you know any of this shit?
I mean, be honest.
Nah, man, you're wrong. That's not true, Eric.
No,
Don't be fooled by that.
You know, here's a great example of why you
Don't be
should
fooled
know
by that, Eric. Don't be fooled
and
by
why
that,
you should
man.
know all this shit is because there was a guy, and I know that Thrash knows this. There was a guy named Geraldo Rivera that was riding around with the military, and he decided live on air to start drawing a map on the sand where the military is going next. That really compromises the safety of a lot of people.
Yeah, there's some secrets that
Eric,
you don't
the
want.
military shouldn't be there in the first place, dude.
Besides,
They shouldn't even
Ronnie,
be there.
Ronnie, life is not freaking s'mores around a campfire. Man hates themselves. Humans hate each other. That's how wars start. It's religion. It's politics. It's bureaucracy.
So stay home. Stay home in your bases here. You shouldn't be in other
Ronnie,
countries.
it's simple to say while you're sipping a beer on a balcony. You're not in the sand.
It is, but you can't put it in a simple thing like that. So
the military doesn't choose where they go.
I can argue this, man.
But
I can
when it comes
argue
to
this.
Call directives and do what they sign up to do. That just is the sucky part of that job.
Exactly.
I'll let you talk it out. I mean, there's nothing. You have your way of.
You do what you're told to do because you signed up to do it, which is fine. Because that's what you're supposed to do.
There's more levels to that, Ronnie. It's not black and white, dude. Nothing's black and white when it comes to
the levels. The levels are the top levels of government, which are the.
But you have to understand, there's things that happen for the safety of you, keeping people from.
No.
Okay,
no,
Ronnie,
no.
what keeps our borders safe?
It's not people that are fight in Afghanistan. I don't believe in that. I don't think that's true.
That's this time.
I don't think
You know,
that's
what
true,
about
man.
what about times before? I mean, just think of the overall picture. Don't think
No,
about
man.
this
No.
moment in
Let's
time.
talk about right now. Let's talk about right now.
Now I got to
Let's
get
talk
my
about.
grandkids to bed. I'll be right back.
Okay.
All right.
Gary, chime in.
I mean, I'm inclined to agree. I mean, unless anything happens within our borders, whatever happens outside of our borders, don't even fucking bother. We act like other countries are too incompetent to take care of their own affairs.
The thing is, Gary, that we are brought up in a public school system where we're fed the lines from the time that we are 4 or 5 years old that it's the military is good and you know America's good and all this stuff. And I'm not trying to say that to be un-American, man, but it's what we're fed with all that statism.
Mm-hmm.
And there's another way out there. There's another way to learn that isn't being just militarized from the time you're 5 years old.
And I'll also go this far. Being the world's police state and babying everybody throughout the rest of the world, it's made them so lazy and incompetent to where we basically have to spoon feed them every step of the way. I mean, come on, get real.
No, you don't have to, and they're not telling us that we have to. We are choosing to do that because we think, oh, and it's not that we choose that. It's not. And it's hard to say that we because it's not us. It's actually the government that is doing it. It's not. It's not me and it's not you.
Right?
It's the
Like I said,
government.
if it
They're
doesn't
forcing us to pay taxes to support their crazy ideas
yeah,
of
like I
going
said,
around the world and being this policeman and being this force, and taking our youth, man. They take our youth, 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds.
Yeah,
That
you're
they,
very lucky. You're very lucky though that the draft isn't a thing that has happened
yeah, but you know what? You know
in
what it
recent
is.
history.
In poor communities, the draft is a real thing, because these poor kids, they have no other choices because they don't know what else they're gonna do.
Unfortunately, it's like anything else, which still shouldn't be really
But that's
viewed.
a
It shouldn't
draft.
be really viewed as it
That's a
should be
draft.
viewed
If you have military recruiters going into high schools in poor communities, you're gonna tell me that's not a draft?
all I'm saying.
That is a draft.
Is
That is a draft.
I'm liking it to the banks trying to make you get into a home mortgage that you can't pay for. It's just stupid and dumb, and
It's the same exact. It's the
wrong.
same exact thing.
Right.
It's the same
Wrong.
exact kind
Yeah.
of thinking.
That stuff's wrong. I will 100% agree with you on that. There's no free thinking in that. It's like they present all of the good, which
Right. Yeah,
happens
you're
right
totally right. If you have somebody who's not that well versed in
Yep.
finance, and they go into a bank, and they're gonna get coerced into accepting a loan that they can't pay for. That's the same thing as a young
Yeah.
17-year-old kid
right.
who's gonna get coerced into joining the
Don't
military.
use
It's the same thing. It's the government having control over things that they shouldn't have control over,
right.
and they're screwing it up.
It's really hard to describe it, but I think you kind of did it in the best way that you can. I'm not trying to say things derogatory, right? But don't like abuse, like, I don't know how to say this without being derogatory. So I'm going to say I'm not trying to be derogatory. I'm trying to figure out a terminology here.
Okay.
Don't prey on the
The
undereducated,
unsuspecting or the
Right.
underprivileged, you could say.
whatever you want to call it. We're trying to put a name on it, not trying to be.
But yeah, but that's fair. That's fair.
Don't prey on people that don't know any better. In the end of the day,
Exactly.
I was there myself, man. I almost joined the military when I was 17 years old. I almost joined the army. I was this fucking close. You know why? You know why I didn't get in? Because I
Why?
failed the drug test because I was smoking weed.
good.
And you know what, man?
Hold on, Gary.
That was the best weed I ever smoked because I failed that shit.
Gary, go.
All right. So
You are
my
presenting.
final input is, if unless it happens here within our borders, don't fucking worry about it. And if it does happen within our borders, we have this thing called firearm ownership. I own guns. I'm not afraid to use them. So if some jihadi terrorist in ISIS wants to come here and attack me, just because I'm white and not an atheist.
Good luck,
Then
Gary.
I will go ahead.
But you
and
know what, Gary? That's not gonna happen, man. That's not gonna happen.
I'd
Yeah,
rather
yeah,
fuck myself than have screws
I am
put
doing
in
this whole
my body.
YouTube thing wrong. Wait a minute, that's never gonna fucking happen. The last time, it was an army of two. I get it. Good, great, grand.
Wait. What are you saying, Eric? What
North
are you
of
saying?
north of where I'm sitting on my ass right now. We had a terroristic attack in 2013 in the town of Boston, Massachusetts. I realized it was a army of two. Let's not even call it a fucking army, but just to say it's never gonna happen is quite.
Eric, do you know why 9/11
They're
happened?
talking
Do you
about
know why? Do you know
right.
why they did 9/11? Eric,
Say that one more time.
do you know why 9/11 happened?
Don't even get me started.
Master of the Bear Reviews is not good. Is not getting into that
Because the United States
you can
had bases, military bases in Saudi Arabia, and that's the main
one
thing
reason. Yes.
that was the main reason that Osama bin Laden used. That's the main thing that he said was why he did it. Was because of that. So if we weren't out there in other countries screwing around trying to beat an empire,
Here's where maybe you can go. Yeah.
that wouldn't have happened, man. I can tell you 100%.
Here's a way you can
100.
go on that.
Not saying that Osama bin Laden was a good guy. I'm not saying he was a good guy,
Well,
but
yeah.
the reason that he used to do it was our own fault. We shouldn't have been there.
Correct.
We shouldn't have been there.
More likely than we want to admit. That's a correct statement at the end of the day. Yeah. I mean, that was a correct statement because of like Western culture. And this is Masters of Beer Reviews Freeform Friday, by the way. So here's a freeform discussion for you, motherfucker.
Fandango Friday, man.
I call it Freeform Friday because of the guy that got mad at you. Anyways, yeah, James C. Madonna. Anyways, wow. Yeah, we were so, I don't know about the rest of the Western civilization, probably so just angry about communism. So to get rid of communism and to get rid of Soviet Union, they invaded the Soviet Union, Afghanistan. Let's just give the Afghanistanis a bunch of weaponry, which give Osama bin Laden the weaponry. Hindsight can only.
Eric, Eric, back then they were freedom fighters back then.
You can't know in 1978. You can know now that was a shit idea. You got to do what you got to do at the time. You just have to kind of just do it.
Wait.
Eric, no, you don't have to do what you have to do. That's where you're wrong. You don't have to do that.
No,
you don't have to arm those guys.
You don't have to do anything.
You don't have to do that.
Right.
So let's go back to the 80s. You don't have to arm Osama bin Laden and these guys. You don't have to do that. The Reagan administration was putting their nose into some shit that they didn't need to be involved in. That's exactly the point. They didn't have to do that, but they did it, and they fuck shit up, and they keep making things worse and worse and worse and worse. But each time that they get involved, so get the fuck unengaged. Don't be involved in it, and you won't have all these damn problems.
Yeah, but we tried that from.
We never tried it. We didn't try it. We didn't try it, man. We didn't try it.
What was it, Gary? 1915, 18?
No, Eric.
That is exactly correct.
Eric, I'm sorry, dude, but you're wrong, dude. We didn't try it.
Gary,
we didn't try it.
It
was tried up until World War One when we made the wrong decision to join World War One, and that's what put us onto the field of making all these wrong decisions.
Well, I'm trying to understand what the question is to answer because I'm having difficulty figuring out what the question is.
So I'm saying
there's no question. Nobody asked the question. I was just saying something.
If any question, I'm saying that the United States, since its inception as that said called nation in 1784 until now, basically, right?
No, until 19. Eric.
That first time.
17.
Won't you call that first time when we actually decided like an intervention into anything outside the United States was a really what was a warranted idea, right?
Well,
Tried intervention was the Spanish-American War.
no, not even the Spanish American. The only warranted justification for the United States actually doing anything outside of the United States is World War II and 9/11.
No, man, no. That wasn't warranted either. None of these wars are ever warranted. None of them.
That's a whole different story for a whole different day, though. It has nothing to do with.
Well,
It
World
has
War
generally a whole bunch to not do with like,
World War One
are
and
you a Democrat or Republican? It really has almost nothing to do with a lot of that.
World War One and World War II actually pose significant threats to people's freedoms.
Negative.
Uh,
It imposed threats to
everybody
our
alive-
freedoms because our government joined that, and
Right.
our freedoms were diminished because our government was
Well, we've
involved in the
had-
war.
had
And you know, whenever there is a government that's involved in a war, the citizens of their country lose their freedoms.
If
And
you
that's what
studied
happened.
a
That's what
little
happened to us.
bit, if there was a little bit of studying to naval history within World War II, there was actually some crazy fucking shit that happens. I know there was one, I forget the year, I apologize, I don't have all the stats in front of me, I'm not no statistician for fuck's sake, but there was 200 miles off the coast of Cape Cod, there was a little tiny skirmish battle that happened with a German U-boat 200 miles off the coast of fucking Cape Cod. There were instances where there were U-boats from Germany crossing waterways into the United States.
Right,
So
yeah,
it wasn't just, you can't just not pay attention to
right. So
fucking Germans coming over the United States. They actually pretty much did invade our soil to a certain extent, if we're calling certain waterways United States territories.
Well, they made an attempt, but they were not successful. But yeah, World War One, World War II, and only 9/11 to only a certain extent is the only justifiable reasons I can think of. However, here's what I would have done differently about 9/11. But before I get into that, I have one legitimate question. Okay, so I'm pretty knowledgeable when it comes to definitions, terminologies, and I have a good reading comprehension skills. But if crime fighters fight crime and firefighters fight fire, then wouldn't it make logical sense that freedom fighters fight against freedom, not fight for freedom? I mean, just
Well, it depends on your definition of freedom.
French fries. Freedom
mean,
fries.
just that never ceases to amaze me. They say freedom fighters this, freedom fighters that, but if crime fighters fight crime, firefighters fight fire, then what do freedom fighters fight? Looks like they fight against freedom, not really for
They
it.
fight against fried food. There you go.
Right.
I just want to throw that out there because that part has never made any sense to me.
Yeah, none of this, like for me personally, I may go this way or that way when it comes politically. But like, if you got a better idea than the next person at the table, I'm more likely to listen to what the fuck you're gonna say. Like,
Right.
I just don't care that. Oh, let's go back to beer. Oh, I love IPAs and New England style IPAs. If this Genesee beer is going to be $15 for a 30 pack and it's going to taste really good in the style of American light beer, I'm going to listen to you. All right. I may have a preference, but I may go, wait a minute, you got something to say? It seems like it's saying something. I'm going to listen for a little bit.
Right.
Same kind of story, but a really out there analogy for that. But
Right.
I may think one thing, but I'll listen to you. All right. That's
Yeah,
what-
there's no such thing as an expert. A lot of things that you hear, especially in like the cube that we have going right here, it's opinion, and a lot of it's speculation, and a lot of it is it's what you believe. You know, like when we talk about America and freedom and everything, it's what your definition of freedom is and what you stand for America. You know what I mean? That's what makes America so cool, is that everyone thinks of things differently, and that's what makes this country great, you know, from the standpoint of the theory of America. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, getting back to what I was saying about 9/11, here's what I would have done differently about 9/11. First, I would not have gone all gun-ho in just not knowing what the fuck I was doing. First of all, I would have conducted a very thorough investigation into 9/11, so that way, whenever it came time to declare war the constitutional way, actually going before Congress and actually getting a declaration of war like the U.S. Constitution says we were supposed to do, I would have declared war on Saudi Arabia and toppled that government, installed a new government,
Good. Probably love with that.
gave oil to the people and nationalized their oil fields, and then distributed the wealth among them, and then got the hell out of there.
Well, that's one of the first problems too. You're correct in that assumption. But
Yeah.
the thing is that you got too many lobbyists that are in Washington that made a hell of a lot of money off Saudi Arabia. If you
Oh,
would
yeah.
have took Saudi Arabia out, you would have toppled a lot of big players in Washington.
Do I
Oh,
look
yeah.
like I really care with this on my head? No, I don't.
What does that symbolize?
It will affect you in the law. It will affect you. It's in some capacity. I mean, just look at it's going to be the 70s times infinitum when it comes to oil crises.
I mean, the reason why I would go after them is they're terrorists with a legal government. They're basically like ISIS, but with a legal government.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So, in all honesty, that's the least of my concerns right now.
Wait,
That-
Yeah, but
who are you talking about?
You got to
Who are you
look
talking
too
about? Who are you
back
talking
then.
about? Who you talking
Saudi
about?
Arabia as a
Well, you have to look
Oh, Saudi
too.
Arabia? Hell yeah, man.
A lot of people
Fuck
back
Saudi
in the
Arabia.
day, they had no clue what the Middle East was about, let alone know where
Right.
to point to it on a map.
You know what the problem is, Trash, is that the real axis of evil in the Middle East right now is Saudi Arabia, United States, and Israel. That is the axis of evil.
What would you do? What would you do, Ronnie?
Though.
What's your perfect world?
So the perfect thing that our country can do is disengage from Saudi Arabia and from Israel and stop supporting all the bullshit that Israel wants us to do and go against Iran and all this nonsense.
let
I
them
mean,
go
that would be great.
Okay, so what happens when you do that?
about it.
What happens if we pull
You
out of
stay
everywhere?
here. You stay here. You're not going to foment
what
any
happens over there?
any
What-
more
No, what happens over
more
there when you
problems
pull out?
with Iran. We don't want Thrash. Do you want to go to war with Iran?
No,
Do you
we
Dude,
want
I'm
that?
not talking about war. I'm asking you a question. You say you want to do something. What would be the effect? That's the cause. What's the effect?
What's the cause?
It creates a vacuum. Am I correct?
What is the cause? What are you saying is the
You're
cause?
saying pull out, pull America out. Don't support Israel. Don't support Saudi Arabia. Don't do
Right.
any supporting over in the Middle East.
Okay, yeah,
correct?
that's what I'm saying.
So
yeah.
what happens over there then?
Whatever they do, man. And
Exactly.
and if
Do you
they
think
really
do
need
you think it might affect us in some way, maybe down the road?
If it does, it comes in our
probably less so than it's affecting us right
We're
now.
all on one little
Because at least
blue
we're gonna get
speck
out of
in
there.
space.
At least I'm not gonna have the excuse, the religious crazy excuse of saying that we have these Christian military bases in the middle of our Muslim country. They don't like that, man. They don't like that.
I mean,
There's
I
much
just-
more to just that. I mean, you have to be there. I mean,
these religious zealots. I'm gonna go ahead and just call it for what it is. These religious
And
zealots.
they're not all religious zealots.
hey, believe me, I'm with you.
them,
I'm completely
a lot
with
of them
you.
are
If we can
nationalists,
withdraw
and a lot of them are
from everywhere in the
nationalists.
world,
And
bring
they-
everybody
they-
home, and we stay and we play with our own toys in our sandbox, and everybody leaves everybody else alone, this world would be a better place. Am I
Yo,
correct?
Thrash, just because you never grew up like that, you never knew that way of the world.
Neither
at
have
one
you.
at one time, it was there, and I never knew it either. But at one time, it was the right
Oh
thing
no,
to
there's
do.
always
So
something going on.
now you can't just believe because the government has been doing all this wrong shit for so many
I agree with you, Ronnie.
generations that we should just believe in it, man.
Ronnie, you're acting like I'm against you. No, I'm all for it. All I'm doing is saying if you did that, if you were to say, America, pull out your interests around the world
Mhm.
and not support our allies in the Middle East.
Yo, we don't have
What
allies, dude. We don't have allies. There's no such thing as an ally.
Okay.
Right.
So we
Right.
just play with ourselves. So we're going to go in the bathroom and masturbate.
We're an empire, dude.
Not a half
The-
bad
you know
idea.
you know the thing is, man. When somebody meets somebody in the train or an airport or whatever that's in camouflage, right? They have to say, It's basically we're brought up, that way that we have to say thank you for your service. If we don't say
have
that,
to say anything.
no,
They're
you
human
do, but you're brought up that way. That's the way we're brought up.
That's just being nice. It's like holding a door for a woman.
It's not being nice, man. It's
So,
That's
so
pretty
are you spitting on me, Ronnie?
nice.
so besides saying that, the thing that they're missing from saying is thank you for your service to the empire, because we have an empire.
Empire.
We have the equivalent of what the British had in the 1850s or so. That's the same thing, man.
I mean, where does the sun set on the American Empire? Nowhere. The sun
It doesn't set. And it's not a land grab. It's not.
So let me ask you, what are you guys
World
doing?
War II?
What are you
After
doing to
World War
change
II.
the world to what you want?
Well, let's see here. First of all,
You can
as a
try,
country,
man. You can try. It's like it's
and
not
just
that
build
easy,
our
but
problems.
you
We
can
have
try, man.
our own.
Gary, go ahead.
Well, first of all, how about we focus on ourselves? Because to be honest, we have not focused on ourselves in a long fucking time. We got our own problems we got to deal with here at home. And besides that, we act like other people cannot take care of their own problems. We got to take care of everybody's problems for them.
I agree with you.
Lastly, if you want the Middle East to change, the only time the Middle East has ever changed or ever will change is if it's done within. So if you got these secular moderates in the Middle East who do not want these radical terrorists there, well, guess what? AKs are very prominent in the Middle East. Why don't they take up arms to fight against terrorists? Why's it got to be our job?
I agree with you 100%.
So okay,
The Middle East does not have to change. The Middle East is what it is. That's what they are.
That I can agree with to a certain extent, right? Yeah.
I agree with it, to an extent too. It's just that you have to understand a lot that goes over in the Middle East is driven by religion. Like you said, there's zealots over there.
But Brian, it has nothing to do with us, man.
It should. It shouldn't. You're right. My thought process.
Yes, it does, because there's oil involved for one. And we
no.
Listen, that's the big thing over there.
The United States,
come on, man.
Those countries as their own governing bodies.
I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying that's one of the major deals over there.
The only thing for me, I haven't really chimed in a whole bunch, but for me personally, I mean, I agree probably more with thrash metal. However, still my own general thought process on any of this kind of crap is that, it just may work very well that the United States and like a country maybe like a Canada or a United Kingdom, New Zealand, and Australia can, and maybe even a France and a Germany and a lot of places in Europe, right? They can do very well with voting for politicians and having laws change in a parliamentary way, similar to what we do. But that just should not just mean that because you don't do it that way, that is wrong. Why the hell should somebody tell somebody else? Because
that's a great point, Eric. That's a great point.
With our own citizens, right? We don't want to really tell our own citizens like what you just think is wrong. Like, therefore,
just because it works for us doesn't mean that we should make you do it at gunpoint.
Doing something wrong and all right because we're in the United Nations and we really seriously don't want human rights violations happen. If you're not violating somebody's human rights, we're probably just going to leave you the fuck alone.
Eric, that's a great point, man. Very good
Ronnie
point.
and Greg, just to let you guys know, I'm not against anything that you're saying at all. I agree with like almost 100% of it. It's just that you have to understand, I'm an old soldier from a different time. Like you said, Ronnie, I served during Bill Clinton, and I also served during Reagan.
Yeah.
So that was a totally different time. Okay.
Totally different time.
That's back when the wall was up.
Thrash. If I joined at the time that my age was appropriate, I would have been under the bullshit neocon George Bush and Donald Rumsfeld, Dick Cheney regime, throwing me to get killed in Iraq for no reason at all, man. For no reason at all. And I have plenty of friends. Dude, from that generation that went to Iraq and that went to Afghanistan. And if they weren't killed, they came back and they were fucked up, man. And that's real talk. That's real talk, man.
I'm sitting in my daughter's house right now watching my grandkids, and her husband was a Marine who went in on the first spear into Iraq. He did 2 tours over there. He's fucked up.
I'm sure he is. I'm sure he is, man. I'm totally sure he is.
But I'm just
And,
saying
and it's not right. It's not right that he's fucked up.
Ronnie,
messed up,
war
man.
is not right. Period.
Yeah, but it shouldn't have been a damn war. It was the.
But Ronnie, you had no
It wasn't
control
for
over it.
anything, man.
Ronnie, you're preaching to the choir.
Yep.
You're preaching to the choir, dude. Vietnam shouldn't have happened.
Of course it shouldn't have.
None of it should have happened.
Yeah, the ultimate driving
So let's
force
go.
in a
So
lot of this
Thrash,
shit.
let's just
Go ahead.
agree, man. Can we let's just agree and get together and be anti-war, totally anti-war.
I'm all for anti-war.
Yeah, the main. I'm not calling this a problem.
The government gets together and they formulate these wars, and you know what, man?
Ronnie, don't let that eat you up because dude, you can worry yourself to death. There's nothing you can do about it.
Here's what happens in a
It's
giant.
not true. That isn't true. That
Okay,
isn't true.
so what are you going to do about it? How can you change it?
I'm gonna go out there. I go out there, man, and I find out who is the local politicians in my own area, and I vote for them, and I
Sure
look
you
around
will.
and see what I can do there, and
Yeah.
and I don't just blame it all on Donald Trump. I don't say
No.
you know he's racist or something, some nonsense, or you know, or whoever it is, Obama, or if it's Trump, or if it's Bush, or whoever it is. Those guys are the president of the whole country. What they do doesn't totally affect where I'm at. So that's why I learned that you have to try to affect local politics. You have to be
Well, you have to
engaged
understand
locally.
Ronnie, too. There's another thing that goes with that too. Different levels of government have responsibilities. Our federal government has an overreach that's been
Right.
horrible
Yeah, no,
for
you're
decades.
right, man. You're totally right, but at least you can try, man. You can at least try to get your voice out there.
Well,
You can at least
no,
try.
from the standpoint of what the federal government is supposed to do for America.
The very.
They are
I know,
They're trying
you're
to
right.
be the
You're
diaper
totally
for
right, dude,
everybody,
because they
and
don't even
they're
need a
not supposed
declaration of war anymore. They don't even need a declaration of war ever since
No,
World War II. They
yeah,
just go and do whatever they want to do.
no, but yeah,
They do whatever they want. They
no,
do.
yeah,
The
you're
president, the president has the right to go into any country and do whatever the hell he wants,
right.
and he
No,
can take the troops.
not exactly. But you're close. You're kind of sort of.
He can take the troops and he can put them in any country in the
They're
whole
not
world
supposed
that
to.
he wants to.
Yes
A
and no. Yes
president
and
can't
no.
do it by himself. Okay.
Yeah, the Constitution is
Yeah, but Thrash and Eric, they don't pay attention to the Constitution anymore. That's
No,
the
No, but
Ronnie, you have to understand it takes more than a president to deploy troops.
but I got to say it for this reasoning alone, because there are because you have to sign. Yeah, Gary Owens, because you have to sign laws to kind of make certain things. You just need to smoke sometimes. So sometimes you have to make law, and then it takes that process this amount of time long.
Yeah, if I can, I want to leave. I want to leave a closing statement right now, if I can.
Yep,
To all you guys. My uncle on my dad's side, so my dad's brother, he grew up in upstate New York in the 60s. He was kind of a little bit of a wild guy. He stole a motorcycle up in Middletown, New York in the mid 60s. He was driving it down the road and he crashed it. The police arrested him and they took him to court. And when he went to court, they told him, you can either go into Vietnam or you can go to jail, right? So he went to Vietnam. And he was my dad's older brother. And my dad said they always had a great repertoire and everything over the years. He went to Vietnam for a year. When he came back, my dad said he was never the same ever again. He was a fucked up guy.
Mm-hmm.
And never had the same relationship with him ever again. And he was, always involved with drugs and always involved with beer. And he was, he drank before that, but he never did drugs. And then all of a sudden, when he comes back to the United States, he's like a drug addict. All of a sudden, just from that one war, right? Mm-hmm. And even worse than that, he contacted Agent Orange while he was there. From if you know what Agent Orange is, the United States did bombing.
Yeah, we know.
Basically, they dropped chemicals on top of Vietnam.
Oh yeah,
and it went even into the troops. Their own troops were affected by it. So
Yeah, because they didn't know what the effect was really.
He contacted cancer from it.
Yep.
And he came back from the war. He contacted cancer. He was emotionally messed up for whatever he did. Nobody knows because he wouldn't talk about it. And he eventually died from cancer in like the late 80s.
Yeah.
And so this innocent youth, this innocent guy who was just driving, he was kind of messed up. He did the wrong thing. He was driving a motorcycle and he happened to crash it. They threw him, the state threw him into a total, craziness, and that destroyed his whole entire life.
Yep.
Where he was never able to come back and have a decent family or anything like that. They totally destroyed him, and he is one amongst millions of Americans, and so that's why I'm saying, man, it doesn't matter what generation you're in, just look at what they're telling you to do. They're wrong, man. What they're telling you is wrong. It's messed up.
So
right.
Yeah, where I was going to go with that statement was the Constitution thing. So not even just Constitution alone, but just you kind of have to look at things the way that they happen. Therefore, sometimes it's just like no duh, you get afforded certain rights because of the situation, right? So a lot of international. So let's go back to like writing the laws and shit, because that is like an exponentially long process. It can take as long as it fucking needs to, right? Now, I'm not talking about anything specific. I'm not mentioning anything here or there. So reserve your comment on that just now, because international policies are so like, sometimes you got to act on things now. You don't have the affordability of time for Congress to go, well, we need to ratify this. We need to ratify that. It's got to go to this committee. It's got to go to that committee. Sometimes this international crisis needs attention fucking immediately. And therefore, it's because of that, sometimes the president of the United States is afforded a lot of rights for international policy over Congress for that specific reasoning. I don't say specifically referencing any conflicts. I'm saying in general terminology, he or she that is president gets afforded that right a lot of the time over a Congress because of that. So when you get to declare, you're declaring absolutely nothing, to be completely honest. So there you go, Ronnie. You get to say, I need to bring the troops here. You give the good enough reasoning. Congress will say, without making a law, billing it and writing it and having it signed, okay, you can do that. All right, he goes there for 90 days or whatever. Every 30 days or whatever it is, they can go and Congress can have the president go to them. The president go to Congress and say, we need another 30 days. I guess Iraq's been or Afghanistan, not Iraq. It's been pretty long. Vietnam was pretty long. I mean, Vietnam, no. World War II, we declared that war. That was the last time we declared a fucking war. Vietnam was not a really declared.
There's a police action. Police action.
Yeah, but president goes in front of Congress.
If Vietnam is a police action,
therefore,
then what is that?
Different time, Ronnie. It's a different time and different people in charge.
What is Afghanistan considered?
So
you tell me.
It's not a war.
I don't name wars. That's not my job.
It's not a war by definition. However, I'm just telling you, like sometimes we can't wait for however long it's going to take to ratify laws and bills to become law before.
What?
Yeah.
Eric, are you saying it's okay that it's not congressionally approved?
No, I'm not. Congress still has to Congress at the end of the day still has to say yes or no to anything. They still have to say yes or no. Congress in 2003 said yes in a percentage of majority.
But they didn't. They didn't say it.
Unless you disagree with that, they must have said yes. Otherwise, how did we go to Iraq? How did we go there without a yes majority?
Mm-hmm.
How did that happen?
You know how we went in there without a majority? Because nobody cares anymore.
That's not even the point I'm making. That's a whole different statement. And that's a whole different conversation. We could, I don't wish to, but we could have that conversation.
It's the truth, man. It's the damn truth.
Executive order.
I love you, Ronnie. I love the way you care. I'm with you. I'm not disagreeing with anything you say. If we could pull everybody out and not have another war in this world and have everybody singing Kumbaya around a campfire,
Yeah.
Come on, man. Don't be like that.
Right now,
you know,
What do you-
that's not true,
in
man.
Puerto
you want everyone hating everybody?
Like that. You don't try to say it like that.
That
Well,
is
what do you say,
Don't try to
Ronnie?
minimize it.
Do
Don't try to minimize it and make it seem like it's a hippie thing, because that's not how it is, dude.
what he said at all.
Ronnie, how
We
come you're
it's a
so
real thing that can
argumentative?
happen.
How come you're arguing with me?
Cheers.
Quit arguing with me. I love you, man.